Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey.
Welcome to episode 43 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes. It is still May 20th of 2023. We've just left Wild Turkey and now we're heading to Danville, Kentucky to visit Wilderness Trail. It is distillery number 47 for us, and it is our 39th stamp on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Yes, we're getting pretty close. So we're pretty excited to talk about this trip and what we did there. We'd heard a lot about them. What do you recall about when we arrived at Wilderness Trail that day?
Well, beginning the morning at Wild Turkey, the weather was okay. It was overcast, a little bit cloudy, a little bit cool, but it was comfortable. So as we're driving to Wilderness Trail, it started raining.
And the temperature dropped.
Yeah, so we had this big temperature drop and it got kind of cool. And that was the day that I purchased my very first distillery socks, if I remember correctly.
You did, you got socks, but the first thing you got was a scarf.
It was
because they were on clearance.
Yeah, it was I think like $10.
Yeah, they were on clearance. And I bought it may have been my first distillery sweatshirt, even though it's at the end of the trail. But it is a really cool, like bourbon, says bourbon across it and has their logo in the O. And I still wear it quite a bit. After I was wearing it yesterday. I love that sweatshirt, but I was so cold. I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to tour this, even though if you've all done a tour, you know, it's pretty hot in the still house. But once you get out in the rick house, you're freezing. So we were sopping wet and wanted to be warm, so that's what we did. But the other fun thing while we're waiting around, we had enough time because we weren't sure how long it was going to take to get from Lawrenceburg to Danville. And we actually arrived early, which is usually my preference, to arrive early, get checked in. We had enough time to have a cocktail. So we sat down, have a cocktail, and it's just always fun to people watch. People are leaving tours, coming in. Some are just coming in to check out what bottles might be for sale. But then we met Cooper. Cooper's their distillery cat. Adorable little black and white kitty that just comes up and hangs out, rubs on your legs, sits on the barrels. We visited with Cooper almost the whole time.
Uh-huh.
And tell him why you bought the socks.
Because my feet were cold.
No. What do your socks look like?
Cooper.
He has Cooper socks. It's so funny when he wears them to other distillers, like, what is that? It's Cooper socks.
We also have a Cooper towel.
We do, a hand towel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did get some coffee. I think they had coffee there that I tried, which was bad. We didn't buy any of that there. And it was a good visit.
Yeah, and then as I recall, I looked it up, our tour guide, because you probably wonder how I remember all this stuff. A, I have pictures, but B, I saved onto Word documents for every weekend. I saved my Facebook posts. So I copied whatever I'd written on the Facebook post so I can go back and see what we did. So that's how I know Riley was our tour guide. He was really great. If you know anything about Wilderness Trail, they're very scientifically oriented, run by 2 PhDs that originally started out creating yeast, and they still create yeast for a lot of places. And so they do a lot of very scientific things. They are a sweet mash process. They are non-chill filtered because they're very pure in what they do. Mm-hmm. And as we get talking about the spirit here, this is going to be a rye we're going to do in a bit, but it's a Kentucky grown rye. So that's not always done that way.
Nope.
But that's how they are, and it's great. And I really enjoyed the tour that Riley provided. I was a little nervous at first that it might be overly scientific because Wilderness Trail is known for being the scientific distillery. Although I'd say Bardstown's pretty close now too.
Yeah.
But of course, I was looking at some pictures earlier that looked at the 25,000 gallon beer well, and I guess I must have been stunned by that. And again, this is distillery 47 for us. So we went through the whole process of going through the distillation from the beginning to the end. I think we might have gotten a taste of the fermenting as it was happening, and maybe some white dog. I don't really recall for sure, and I didn't have a picture of that, so it could be we didn't. But then we had to go outside, and I remember going outside and being really happy that I'd purchased that sweatshirt because we had to traverse a ways to go to a rick house, and rick houses on a cool day are very cold. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's May or if it's August. You want a rick house and you're going to drop some temperatures there. So I was super happy to have that sweatshirt on. I think Wayne was all buttoned up in his scarf, so that was good.
Yep.
But then when we finished that, going through the rick house, how they store things, how things are matured there, then we headed to another building. Was that where we did the tasting?
Yes, it almost felt like an enclosed patio.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it really reminded me of. We had one when I was a kid that I listened to Padre ball games in. And yeah, it was like this large enclosed patio. Anyway, it ended up that as far as all the tours and tastings we've done, this was probably the biggest group that we were with. A lot of the times you have anywhere where we've been with as few as 2 or 3 and as many as 10 to 15. This was well over 20 people.
Yeah.
It was like 4 or 5 different rows of tables
It was huge.
that covered the entire room. And it was interesting, a little bit boisterous in there. And the other thing I remember is that most of the people that were in that room that we encountered or listened to were not into it, which I thought was really, really odd.
Now I'm trying to remember, I don't recall that many people being on the tour. So I'm thinking maybe it was like anyone that came in just to do a guided tasting joined us after we had been on the tour.
It could
So
be.
it was interesting. So we had our group that had been traveling from building to building. So we went to 3 different buildings, as I recall. And then all of a sudden we had all these people. So they could have just come in and bought a guided tasting. And I think they were the really rowdy ones.
Yeah.
Because they were probably just, you run into people on the trail that are just going place to place just to drink. Anyway, I thought the tasting was good. As I recall, I was looking at the tasting mat from the pictures. We had 3 or 4 things. And I think we had 2 ryes that day, which shocked me. Because a lot of times on these tours, you maybe get 1 rye, but they were really proud of their rye.
Yes.
And evidently it was good because we bought 2 bottles of rye that day. And if you watch us at all, we don't have a lot of rye, but we bought 2 bottles that day.
Wilderness Trail, what I remember is we were just really in shock over the quality of them, and which is going to lead into this bottle, which there's actually a little bit more of a story, which I think Rebecca may get into as she explains to you the significance that we found out today of this bottle.
For our tasting piece, we did buy 3 bottles that day. We bought, as I already mentioned, we bought 2 bottles of rye and we bought 1 bottle of bourbon. But this is the only bottle we hadn't yet opened. So I selected it for the tasting because that's one of the things we do. If we have something we haven't opened that we got on the trail, we're going to open it for you all right in front of you and taste it for the first time. I'm not sure we ever tasted this one that day. I think they were tasting something else. So this may literally be our first taste of this. But let me tell you a little bit about why I found it to be pretty darn special. So this is Wilderness Trail Small Batch Rye Whiskey. It is a Kentucky straight rye whiskey, and its mash bill, now listen to this, it is only 56% rye, 33% corn, and 11% malted barley. This was aged 7 years, and for a rye, that's pretty old for a rye. It is a bottled-in-bond, therefore its proof is 100. Now, we were there, as we were saying, May of 2023, and it was created from 15 barrels that year that were released as a distillery only. And I do recall there was a shelving area that said, this is distillery only purchases. I had a tendency to go to those shelves, wherever we were, and think about, wow, is there something here that we can't get anywhere else? That seems to be the logical thing to do. So we did purchase this bottle, which was $75 for a 7-year-old rye. I thought was a great price at the Wilderness Trail Distillery. So again, a bottle-in-bond that's 7 years old. They were ahead of their time because this year all these people are releasing bottle-in-bonds that are older, right? So it's funny to think about that. And I love the fact that the mash bill is only 53% rye, and it's got a pretty heavy corn influence too. I'm curious to see how this tastes. It's been sitting here, not that it ages in the bottle, mind you, but we've had it for 2.5 years and it got its first crack today.
Which, that's a shock. So
their ryes are quite popular. So their small batches go out frequently. So they're typically 4 to 5 years old.
Okay.
And the 7-year, I couldn't find any other instances of the 7-year. I could be wrong and just couldn't find it. But they were newer then.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's just pick this up. It's been sitting around a long time.
It's a pretty color for a rye. It's not super dark, but it's darker than a lot of ryes are because it does have some age on it. Oh.
Well, that's funny.
Wow.
I get the corn and the rye at the same time.
And I'm getting like floral notes.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's sometimes you get rye spice that just hits you, and sometimes it goes more tea-like, more floral-like. This is very floral.
And the floral part, as you get more into it, it takes over. But I still think it's those 3 components.
And if you just lightly take it past your nose, I'm getting hints of mint. very light herbal mint, not harsh mint. It's picking up with that floral note really nicely.
Well, the interesting thing is when I take it by my nose like this, I'm getting hints of whiskey.
And I've got the sweet notes. It's almost honey-like.
When I do this, I'm actually getting a small touch of chocolate.
On the nose?
Yeah.
I rarely get chocolate on the nose. Now you're going to make me jealous of your nose now.
Well,
it does have some great legs that formed on my glass while I was sitting there sniffing away. It's very beautiful.
Let's try this to make sure that the people out there don't fall asleep in the middle of us sniffing. Cheers to Wilderness Trail. Cheers to this rye, and we'll see how good it tastes.
Cheers. Yummy. That matches the nose nicely.
It is herbal. It is slightly corny.
Floral.
And it's minty.
Light, very light though. It's like you took a single sprig of mint to put into your tea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you picked up a batch of mint at the store and you were sniffing it like that. There's a hint of it there that's lovely. The honey's coming through for me too. I'm still getting that. There's something odd, not odd in a bad way, but I'm getting a little bit of baking spice. It feels like cinnamon.
I'm getting barrel notes in it. And I'm almost getting a black pepper as it's getting ready to go to the finish.
Yeah, I got a little hint on that on the finish as I'm sitting here, but I was gonna go back and say I figured out, I think, what that other piece was. It's super light, but it's almost like that licorice note you sometimes get. Are you getting a little bit of the black licorice?
I hope not.
Yeah, that's me with coconut and him with black licorice or bananas. We have things that's our prejudice on our palate. We can't help it. But it's such a light hint and it's wrapped up in that mint, so it's not obtrusive.
And it's not obtuse.
You would put the star anise, however you say it, if you were having some pho.
Yes.
And you would like it like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hint of it that I'm getting. It's not like you have a big black licorice stick you're chewing.
Right.
So there's a very big difference from that. From my opinion, the candy version versus the actual
There's an
flavor.
extreme version because I love pho.
Mm-hmm. I love that it seems to be following the nose very well. I love the way it's developing on my palate. Still got bits of honey, maybe even a little bit of caramel. Like you were talking about the barrel notes coming forward. I don't usually get caramel in rye, but I feel like with the honey is almost shifting to a little bit of caramel on the palate there. And again, that's not something I tip, maybe because it's 7 years old.
Well, I will tip my hat to Wilderness Trail on this one because we have some rye that I enjoy. The only other rye that I can say I really enjoy is Neely's. I love their rye. Anyway, this is really outstanding. If this were a 2025 whiskey, I would probably be throwing this into one of our monthly competitions. And that would be a stand-up because I don't think we've selected a rye the entire year.
We've not selected a rye all year.
And this is a beast. If you're an NFL fan from back in the day, this is John Riggins, and you've handed him the ball, and it doesn't matter who the defensive tackle was. He's going through. He just is. And it's great.
It's really good. The finish, while I've been sitting here, the finish is just very long and lingering. It has some char notes.
Yes.
It has the slightest, the type of mint I'm getting on the finish. I am getting the black pepper. It's like pops of black pepper. But the mint is like, when you take that breath, when you eat that peppermint patty and then you feel it here, the breath from the peppermint patty, that's how it is. It's not like it feels like there's just mint hanging out down there. That turns more candy-like, which is interesting. It's been floral, nose and palate, but then on the finish, it feels more candy-like mint, which is fascinating.
And I don't know who the master distiller was at the time or is currently that may have been involved with this, but I'll say this, I'll tip my hat to you. This is absolutely outstanding. MGP is really considered the king of rye. I've had a lot of MGP rye and it's good. They do the
95.5 and they do the 100% rye, but they're known for their 95.5 rye. It is outstanding.
It is, but this is better than anything I've had of MGP or any other rye, like I said, other than Neely's.
We had a rye recently that we got in Kansas City that I think was around 60% rye. I can't remember the numbers. That's been a couple of months. So it's interesting to really compare, and we should do a rye challenge someday.
That'd be fun.
Because we don't do a lot of rye on the channel, but it'd be fun to do a comparison, maybe 3 or 4 that we really enjoy that have different mash bills and different proofs that really have us compare them to see the what's for, right? Victor's makes a good rye. We have one that's a chocolate malt rye from Hard Truth that's quite good. That one from Tomstown in Kansas City was fantastic. So everyone has like these different notes. The Green River Rye has these orange notes to it.
It does.
And that reminded me, I felt like I was getting a little bit of a lemon peel in here. Until I said orange, I'm like, wait a minute, that's another note I was thinking I had. Yeah, it's a little, I said it got a little bit of brightness to it, and I think that's what it is, a little bit of lemon. So again, it's interesting how they did the mash bill. They have 56% rye and 33% corn, so that's an interesting mash bill.
It is.
You have to have 51% rye to be rye, and that's just barely over the limit.
Well, it seems like for me that with this combination, they have brought a little bit of that bourbon aspect and they've combined it with this rye. And I think they have found a really good medium where both profiles come through. The corn, I think, really adds to some of the complexity of it.
It adds sweetness.
And, yes, and I say that just because corn is your main element with bourbon. And I think it comes through, but it doesn't come through to make it taste like a bourbon.
No,
it doesn't.
Although I am getting some caramel notes, which is interesting.
It doesn't make it, what I consider like a bourbon drinker's rye. This is very distinct. It stands alone. It's a standalone.
And I think the 7 years. So it's an interesting mash bill. And then it was aged 7 years. And it was only 15 barrels were blended for the small batch. That's a pretty small batch to have 15 barrels. That's pretty small.
To give a perspective, my family released the W.H. McBrayer Judge 5. That was a blend of 15 barrels. And they are much, much smaller.
And that's the most they'd ever done.
And that's the most they'd ever done. So you can imagine like a small group like that, making something, putting 15 barrels together. And these guys, this is small.
I like it. And we've tasted their ryes. We were reminiscing this morning a little bit about being in Elizabethtown and going into a bar there. They had a great selection. They were huge fans of Wilderness Trail. And we did a tasting of Wilderness Trail.
Yeah.
And it was actually before I think we had gone here. So that was pretty interesting. And try it. So if you haven't had Wilderness Trail, it is available. It's distributed pretty widely. Or you can try it in your local bar before you buy a bottle. I highly recommend it. It is quite good. And their rye, again, if you're a rye drinker, this might not be for you. If you love rye, this might be different than what you normally like. So it's hard for me to say that you would love this rye, but I think it's really interesting. You probably would want it, just like for us for bourbon, every bourbon we drink does not have the same profile. That would be boring, right? We want our darker ones and our heavier ones and our lighter, brighter ones and our sweeter ones and our savory ones. We like to have a melding of our bourbon. I would assume that really strong rye drinkers feel the same way, that they want to have a cornucopia of rye to choose from. So before we wrap, I just want to say Wilderness Trail in Danville, Kentucky isn't on the beaten path. Right? It's not in Bardstown. It's not right in there in Lawrenceburg or Frankfort, but they make really good stuff. Oh, yeah. They have a fabulous gift shop, and it is worth the little bit of drive, teeny bit out of your way. It's really not that far. If you're going to Wild Turkey, you can make a little detour and be in Danville. It's not that difficult. And then you've got Limestone Branch, and you're really right back there at Bardstown. I just want to say, put it on your list to visit Wilderness Trail. I don't hear a lot of people talking about doing the tour there and visiting there unless they were doing the entire bourbon trail like we did. But I just want to encourage people to do that.
You're missing out if you're not going there, trust me.
Yeah. And they always have some distillery releases, so check those out for sure.
So I'm going to lift my glass with this and give a big cheers to Wilderness Trail. Those of you out there, if you can find this is really worth your time and really worth your try. So cheers to Wilderness Trail and all that you do. You provide yeast for a lot of people. It's a great tour, great place. If you like what we do, hit the subscribe button. Always remember to drink responsibly. And today, drink with Cooper as we try some Wilderness Trail Rye. Cheers.
Cheers.